The St. Louis Cardinals are streaking 8 wins in a row, including a road sweep now over the Washington Nationals. Is it time to believe in this Cardinals team? Believe whatever that means. Or is it time to keep pumping the brakes a little bit here? We'll talk about the series sweep, upcoming series against the Philadelphia Phillies, and the state of the Cardinals on this episode of Deal on the Card. Hey, welcome back into Deal on the Cards. My name is Josh, joined by Andrew. Sandy's on a plane right now, so he couldn't make it in today. And who knows? Sometimes we get some surprise Kareem bombs, and he jumps in here. So maybe we'll get a Kareem appearance today. But hey, we're live. Again, we're a St. Louis Cardinals podcast. If you guys haven't seen us before, or just joining in, because hey, vibes are high right now. We go live no matter what is happening in Cardinal land, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. But right now, Andrew, the vibes are extremely high in St. Louis right now. What's your gauge on this win streak over a road sweep after they basically couldn't win on the road for a month and a week of the season? What are you thinking about this club right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely trending in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
They just took a series from Washington and then from the Pirates. Those are two pretty weak teams, to be honest. The Pirates looked really bad. They ended up firing their manager after that series. I don't think the same thing's going to happen to the Nationals, but you never know. They did show some really good signs today against Mackenzie Gore, who is one of the better left-handed pitchers in the National League, and that's something that we really needed to see. I think Ivan Herrera being back is definitely helping with that. Wilson Contreras not being awful anymore after his stretch. His OPS is back up to like 750 now, which is definitely where you want to see it at after such a terrible start, which means he's been one of the best hitters in baseball since that.
I think Ethan Hannaford had the tweet the other day. He was like top 5 or 6 among all hitters and like pretty much every statistical category you'd want to see in the last 20 games leading up to that point. Again, he had another big day today, so it's probably even better.
Yeah, so that was really good to see the home run from him. Lars Nootbaar still continues to hit the ball really well. He had the leadoff home run, and then Nolan Arenado with a couple extra base hits today. It was very encouraging after he's been kind of cold and hitting a lot of singles. That's something that's good to see. The pitching has looked really good. Eric Fetty threw a complete game shutout. I think we forgot. I don't think we've gone live since then, but that was the first game of the series where he did that. So I'll give credit to him after we were pretty harsh on him throughout the season. And it's good to see that he was able to do that against a Nationals team that, let him go. But Palante looked pretty solid yesterday. I think he stayed out a little bit too long, but that's okay. They still ended up getting the win. And then Miles Michaelis was serviceable again today. Only 5 1/3 innings, but only 1 run. So that's not bad at all, considering we thought he was nearly unplayable at the start of the season. And the bullpen, did the bullpen allow a run this series? I don't think they did. Helsley was close, but I don't think he ended up giving up a run. And then Maton got out of it today with a weird little double play that was some bad luck on the Nationals' part. But, overall, there's not a lot to complain about with this series. There's some more bigger picture things that we could talk about with some of Mo's comments from earlier in the week that maybe we'll go deep dive in another episode on. But as of right now, there's not a lot to complain about with this team. The Cardinals are just 1 game out of first place. The Cubs have really been struggling after losing not 1 but 2 of their front end starters, and the lineup seems to be slowing down just a little bit. But the Cardinals do have a tough stretch coming up against the Phillies and the Royals, and I think that's really what's going to determine the trajectory of the season. Where,
for sure,
if they can survive against those 2 teams, which like the Phillies have been good kind of all year. They took 2 out of 3 from them at home, but playing up there is definitely different. And the Royals, I think, have just lost a game, but they also won 8 in a row recently to get back up into the standings, where that's a team that you don't really want to play right now. So we'll see what happens after those 2 series, and then they come back home to face, I think, still some pretty tough series.
Yeah, Royals and Tigers both have been great this year.
Yeah, so a lot of these teams that they're coming up against are a lot better than the Pirates and the Nationals, but also sweeps are not easy, right? sweeping 2 teams in a row, even if they're horrible. Like, the only team that you should probably bake in a sweep against right now at this point in the season is, like, the Rockies, who are
Yeah.
just, like, generationally bad. But even the Pirates and, like, the Nationals were similar to it. Like, they just lost 5 in a row, and they were just 17-19, which I think the Cardinals were 17-19 before they started their winning streak. So they're not a horrible team by any means. And
Yeah.
the
And you
Pirates are bad, but not everyone's going to sweep them.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, like, I'm less impressed by this. Well, I don't even know if I should say that. Like, this is a bad Nationals team, but it's more so when like the bullpen's what's really killing them right now, right? It's like with the Cardinals earlier this year, where you look at the lineup, you got James Wood, CJ Abrams, Ruiz. You've got guys that can hit, and some of them did this series. And so I'm not super impressed with the pitching staff by shutting down the Nationals lineup, but it's notable. And like you said, sweeps are hard. But like when you go against Mackenzie Gore today, who's been one of the best starters in all of baseball this year, and you put up runs on him and win the game, that's notable. When you face Paul Skeens and you beat him, that's notable. Like you can, I think what I get frustrated by is we don't have to overreact to beating bad teams, but we also don't have to diminish it either. Because there's some people who are like, oh, talk to me when they beat a real team. But if they didn't beat the Nationals, people would be mad about it. So if you're going to
I
be a
mean, this is a
playoff,
team that lost a series to the Angels earlier this year. So, like, what are we?
yeah,
We
you got
need
it.
to beat these bad teams. Like,
Yeah,
that's what needs to happen.
yeah, if the Cardinals are going to be, which again, I'm not ready to say today, book them in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about our optimism levels, but you have to take care of business if you're going to get there. And if this team is going to have a trajectory, like, would people rather they lose all these games and only beat the Phillies next week? And then it's like, oh, so they're good because they beat the good team, but they didn't beat the bad team. Like, you gotta do both. Obviously, if they get shelled by the Phillies this week, it'll be a reality check. But I don't think it should diminish an 8-game win streak either. Like you said, sweeps are hard. 8-game win streaks are hard. They do not happen all the time. It doesn't mean this is a great team. The Cardinals went, what was it, 33-18 for a stretch last year, and clearly they were pretty mediocre. So these runs can happen for teams that
But
are
they both
meh.
started with Ollie Marmol getting ejected.
They both did. So Andrew's onto something with that one. Man, yeah. And also, apparently, if you just want to be one of the best hitters in all of baseball, you just got to come on the podcast. So Vic and Donnie did. So who we need Walker and Gorm to hop on the pod, and then they'll start hitting. So maybe we should start doing that. But again, I'm like really impressed by the sweep. I'm really impressed by 8-game win streak. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to overreact either. But they're 3 games above 500 right now, 1 game back of the Chicago Cubs. And like 2 weeks ago, not even, or I guess almost 2 weeks ago, I had Reds fans on Twitter trying to dunk on me for old Ellie De La Cruz stuff, which also last I checked, he was batting like league average this year. So just gonna put that out there. But that like the Reds were ahead of the Cardinals in the standings, and look at the Cardinals down there, and now they're within striking distance of the NL Central crown right now. And this is a team that all off season did nothing. Like they got worse theoretically, and they didn't go out and trade for Kyle Tucker. They didn't go out and make some signings like the Reds did. Like they stayed pat and they're playing well right now, and it's because what they did in 2024 too. And again, I'm not going back on us being frustrated by the offseason plan. I'd be a lot happier right now if Ryan Helsley wasn't on the team and was traded for a haul in the offseason, or if Eric Fedde was traded, or the Nolan situation's hit or miss. It's fine that he's here. Wouldn't have been minded if he was gone though. But at the same time, like I'm also impressed by the young talent that's coming through right now and that's doing things. And I think the part that's going to start scaring maybe some of us that are plugged in and maybe aren't fully believers of them being like a legit contender this year by any means. I think right now we can't. I mean, maybe you disagree. I don't think we can rule them out as a potential playoff team right now. Clearly, they're playing well enough to be in that conversation. Does it maintain? I don't know. We have to watch the games. I'm not telling you it will. I don't know how I feel about it right now. I'm just waiting and seeing. But I think we can all agree this is not, unless they go on some magical, crazy run, they're not a World Series team. And so that kind of team, you would want them to tear down the parts a little bit, especially when you are looking toward the future and they haven't done that. So the big picture scary conversation that we could get into is whether or not they buy at the deadline and start sacrificing the future for this team. And I think there's ways you can buy at the deadline and it really not impact your future all that much. Or you could buy and sell, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's better just focus on the here and now, and we can have those conversations as we go. But I guess long-winded way to get back to a question for you, Andrew. What and sorry to put you on the spot a little bit, but is there a part of the team over this 8-game win streak that you've been particularly impressed by? Whether it's just like it's reestablished thoughts you already had about the team, or there's parts of the team that you were questioning before, you're frustrated by before, and now you're like, hey, like maybe you're not fully bought into it, but you're like, oh, the improvements in this area are notable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one to look at is always the lineup because that's the where the future of your team is going to be.
Yeah.
Because like Eric Fetty throwing a complete game shutout is cool, but it doesn't really matter for next year because he's not going to be on the team next year, right? So, and also like if you're solely looking for at this year as like a contending year, that's cool that he threw a complete game shutout against the Nationals, but the Nationals have like two good hitters in
Yeah.
their lineup. So it's not like he did it against the Dodgers and it's like, oh wow, look, Eric Fetty could be a really, really good starter. It's like, no, he did it against a team that's pretty weak
Yeah. For
in the
sure.
lineup wise. So I mean the lineup, the Cardinals lineup has just looked really, really strong. And I mean, pretty much top to bottom, aside from the Walker Gorman, there's nobody in this lineup that's below league average anymore. I think even Burleson has gone over that mark, if I'm correct. But I mean, they're just playing a good brand of baseball where they can win in multiple ways. It's not like they just hit the home runs like some teams do, or just go with a small ball. I think the 10-0 game, the Fetty game, they didn't hit a single home run, but then yesterday they had a bunch of those, and same with today, a couple of homers against a pretty solid starting pitcher. So I mean, overall, if you ignore Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman just being pretty much awful, the rest of the team is doing what you want it to do from the lineup standpoint. You have maybe five young hitters that are part of your core going in the future that are all performing at a really good level. You have Wynn, Scott, Nootbaar, Donovan, and Ivan Herrera
Yep.
are all guys that you could build around in the future and say these are position players that you can build around. And a lot of them play premium positions like center field, shortstop, and Ivan Herrera if he's going to keep catching. So that's really encouraging. And Wilson Contreras adds a sixth bat that's probably going to be here next year to really solidify that lineup. And that's six really solid hitters, top to bottom. And then you figure out the rest with is JC going to be in there? Is Arenado still on the team, or
Walker, Gorm.
with Walker and Gorman, do you sign someone to replace them? And this team still needs a star. Like they still, if they want to be competitive next year, need to go out and make that signing. I mean, I kind of want them to sign Kyle Tucker. It's never going to happen, but I think it
it's
would
not
be
happening.
really fun if they did that. And yeah, I mean, this team is. I don't know. There's a couple spots that are confusing, where like the DH spot, which we can talk about that with Herrera, and if you want him to play a lot more in that spot. But then who's your catcher? Is Pages playing every day? That's not something that I want to see. And then with the Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, I mean, with what we have right now, one of them kind of has to sit every day anyway. They're kind of platooning, where Gorman is playing against the lefty or the righties, and Walker is playing against the righties, or other way around.
Yeah.
So am I a little frustrated with that? I guess I would like to see them get more playing time, but I guess it's helping them win. And maybe that is what gets Mo the speech at the end of the season, and he doesn't get booed off the field,
Yeah.
Is that something that I don't know. It's frustrating from that standpoint, where I know the results are both really bad for those guys right now, but I don't know. It seems like they're both got out of their approach. Like Walker isn't swinging. Well, he's starting to swing more at that breaking pitch, but he's not really doing it as much as he did last year. He's more disciplined, but when he hits the ball, he's hitting it really softly. And it's like, where did the hard hit tool go? And then Nolan Gorman isn't striking out anymore, but he's not hitting for any power. And it's like, well, why are we popping the ball up? That's not who, like it used to be when he made contact, he would hit the ball really hard. And now both of them seem to be hitting pop-ups at a historic rate. So I don't know if We can talk about the runway question as well too, if you
Yeah,
want.
for sure. Let's do all of that. Let's get a word in from one of our sponsors real quick here, Underdog Sports. The Deal in the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. A comment from the chat earlier was talking about how wasn't it a year ago today when the Ollie Marmol Mother's Day ejection happened that led them on this run? Yes, it is. And so if you are a believer the Cardinals on a run right now, you make sure you go on Underdogs Fantasy, and Brendan Donovan on hits and all that kind of stuff is a great thing right now. You can use our promo code CARDS for a first free time, a first free pick 'em and a first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. We also want to thank our presenting sponsor of the podcast, and that's 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard and all of that. 10 to 5 Monday through Fridays and 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. Andrew's going to rip a pack while we're doing this read. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have the new selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars from around the league. Make sure you check them out to pull your own Fernando Tatis Jr. card. Oh, win. Okay. You always seem to pull a Cardinal on here, which is impressive. White link for Dylan Cruz with the great catch today against the Cardinals. Tink. Oh. Whoa, that's a fun one. Okay, you got to pocket that. Elvin Garcia, not gonna lie, don't know him. Yunmin Lin. Alejandro Rosario. That looks nice. It's a chrome. Oh. David Ortiz Jr. Okay. Look, Kumar Rocker, a lot of Rangers in that pack. And Nolan. Okay. Zach Wheeler. I like the pack. Hey, we know many of you already shop at 304 Sports Cards and Collectibles. Make sure you let them know if we sent or if you heard about them from us and that you're shopping there, and let us know the things you pull along the way. So I do want to talk about, the runway conversation I think is important. The idea of because here's one thing I want to be clear, because I think sometimes it can get confusing with how we talk about it. I don't think any of us want them to lose this year, right? I don't think any of us are like, we really hope they only win 72 games, that they win more than that. Like they can't get a top 10 pick because of the lottery system now. So there's literally zero benefit to being bad. And this is within their control. You can go in to the deadline and have a good record and still capitalize on the trade value of pieces while also winning games. They can do that if they want to. That's on them. So I don't think, and also if this team's really bad, that probably means a lot of the young guys are not playing well. So I think I'd much rather prefer a world where the young guys are performing and they have to make some tough decisions at the deadline than just to get for the sake of losses in the column. And also, don't you want to watch winning baseball? I think we all do. But yeah, let's talk about the runway thing, because I'm writing about this right now, and I'm curious. We had that chat with Kareem and Sandy recently. We're kind of all chiming in about Walker's runway, and there's a test case I want to throw out there that I think is relevant, but I know it's not perfect. Jackson Chourio, last year, 2024. If you look at the end of May, so this is a longer runway than Jordan Walker's had so far. And I know Jackson Chourio is a rookie. I know he had a huge extension. I know it's a different case. So I get that part. But what I'm trying to explain is that the runway that the Brewers are giving to Jackson Chourio, I think reflects the kind of runway that they're giving to Jordan Walker right now. I think it's why I wouldn't hold Mo to this. I think it's just one of those comments that he says, and if you try to hold him to it and say he lied because by mid-June they didn't make a decision, then we're all gonna get frustrated. But I think the idea that it's hey, if things look this bad for Walker and it's the middle of June, then that runway isn't infinite anymore. That you can only be 50% below league average for so long before it's okay, we wanted 600 plate appearances, but we were saying that as in you don't have to be perfect to get them, but you can't be this bad. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it's a problem if you get to the middle of June and Walker looks terrible at the plate and he's lost and it's not working and you demote him. Now, if he's 30% below league average, if he's 20% below the league average, and it's yeah, you could upgrade from him right now, but it's not this bad, then I think you keep giving him the runway, because that was the plan this year. I personally think it's okay if there's a world where they're like, hey, it looks so bad that the plans are changing right now. And it's kind of what they did with Nolan Gorman to start the year, even though I would have given him the runway to start the year because that to me seemed dumb not to put him in the opening day lineup. But if Jordan Walker gets to the middle of June is this bad, like I'm talking 50% below the league average, sub 100 ISO, batting below 200, it's like, what's helping him being up here right now? It's hurting the team, and it's probably hurting his development even more. At that point, I think it makes sense to put a guy like that in AAA. I'm definitely not team demote Jordan Walker right now. I don't think that makes sense because then you literally did nothing different than what you've done the past few years. And that was the whole spiel this offseason is that, well, we would give these guys like a month or we give them a few weeks and they didn't perform. We'd send them down and they know that. And so that all that conversation is just blown up and it just doesn't matter anymore. I think though, if you get to the middle of June and he's this bad, then it's like, man, like you've had every opportunity to show us something. Like they're like begging Jordan, show us something. We get the defense is improved, but it's not good. You could maybe say it's good. It's probably more average, but the bat, man, it cannot be this bad. Do you agree with that? Do you think it's okay if they back off the runway conversation if it looks this bad in the middle of June? Or are you like, that's given up too soon? They said they're going to do this and they backed out of their word. Or there's some people who are like, hey, give up on it now. Clearly it's not working.
I just wonder what you do with Jordan Walker at that point if you do send him down because, like, there's no. What do you do with him next year? If he spends the rest of the season in AAA, unless he like starts tearing the cover off the ball and figures something out in AAA, which like I don't know what he could figure out down in AAA. Like he's been up in the major leagues long enough. He's been in AAA before, and I understand why you would send him down in June, but at that point, you just ride with him until the year's over. And if he's just bad, then he's a bench piece or a trade candidate or even a non-tender candidate in a year or two. And it's like it just didn't work out. You do what you did with Carlson to Jordan Walker, and that's like okay. At that point, he has no value either way. And the same thing with Nolan Gorman, where I mean. Nolan Gorman hasn't even really gotten a chance this season either way. Like I feel like I would be more comfortable sending down Nolan Gorman right now because he's not really going to play up here anyway. Although I disagree with that, and I think he should be playing over Burleson, but whatever. And I just it's frustrating, but I would like to see them ride it out as long as possible. And I think even if it is just awful, if you at some point during the season they start to turn a corner, then you can start to have more optimism in these players and like maybe give them more runway next year. The only chance that I would see where it's like, okay, fine, you can do what you want with them is if they're in like first place, they have like a 3-game division lead in September, and it's like, okay, well now you go for it, right? Because you're not don't give up on the season in September when you have a division lead, right? At least make it to the playoffs, give these guys some playoff experience and see what happens, right? Who knows? Maybe Freddie Freeman hurts his ankle again and this time doesn't come back, right? And then you beat the Dodgers. Who knows? Fair. So anything can happen in the playoffs. Do I think that will happen? Do I think they have the team to make a deep run in the playoffs? No, but would it be really fun if somehow magically they did, right? Like this team right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they wouldn't be in it. But if they were in the playoffs and had a team that was hot like this, who knows, right? Maybe they could beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers are really like have a lot of injuries right now. Same with like the Phillies aren't playing great, and they've already beat the Mets. They've shown that they can do that. So who knows? But before it gets to that point where it's like, well, you're going to be probably playing meaningful games in September, October. It's not a big deal, right? I think the lineup is good enough where it was kind of like last year where we thought like the lineup had enough depth, like where Goldie wouldn't be terrible and Arenado wouldn't be like have fallen off. And this team would have enough pieces where if Jordan Walker was a free out at the bottom of the lineup, it's fine. Right. But then we had Ciani in center and all this other nonsense that happened. It was like you have like 4 easy outs at the end of your lineup. And right now, that's not really the case. There's not really a single player aside from Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman that's really like, oh no, this guy's up, other than maybe like Pages, who shouldn't really be the starting catcher for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, there's also another layer of nuance I would put to my point of that, or my thought on that is they can see they have a better grasp on Walker and his confidence, his work, what's happening behind the scenes than any of us do, right? Like they're the ones who see him hitting the cage. They're the ones who see how he's being receptive to Brant Brown. They see him in the hitters meetings. They see him in the dugout. They see the stuff off the field that they say looks good, the prep that we can't see. If they think that stuff continues to look good, and that they're like, it's just the results aren't breaking for him, which clearly at this point, it's not just the results aren't breaking for him. It's that it's not like something isn't translating on the field. But again, if they can convince, if they're convinced that, hey, just keep giving it more time, it doesn't mean it will for sure happen, but we think this can break through at some point, then I'm cool with them keeping him longer than the middle of June. I don't think I'd blame them on pulling the plug in the middle of June if it looks this bad on the field. And behind the scenes, they're like, we don't know if this is gonna work. We don't think it like because to your point, it's like he's been in AAA before. I get it. But sometimes some guys just take longer than others to develop. This guy's still 22 years old. Most 22-year-olds are not in the major leagues. JJ Weatherholt, I think, might be older than him or like right around the same age and is in AA right now. Again, obviously, he's just drafted. But I think you can give more time to it. Or like Nolan Gorman, if you don't know by the end of this year, you're probably done. Like, I don't know how you can roll him. You can keep him. You don't have to get rid of him, but you don't roll a consistent everyday role for him. It's also not an outlier. I need to do more work on this. I think Brandon Kiley is the first one who I heard bring it up. I thought it was really interesting. I need to do some more digging. But there's guys around the same age as Walker right now, historically, who've had around the same amount of major league games, who struggled like he has for their career and turned it around. Like I remember he cited Bobby Witt as a guy that was very similar career numbers at a similar age. Again, I'm not at all. Please do not say I'm calling him Bobby Witt Jr. I'm just saying there's guys who turn it around. At this point, if Walker is a regular, like an average big leaguer that a starting caliber outfielder at the plate, I'll be happy because right now I'm not sure that's going to happen. But I'm looking at there's guys like Milky Cabrera who was worse historically than at the plate than Jordan Walker was through H22 season. And he had 286 games, which Walker is over 400 now. Oh wait, I don't know if he has 400. I just looked at it the other day, or not the other day, the other moment. Sorry, he has, oh, wow. Oh, 200 big league games. So some of these guys have a bigger sample size and struggled even more than Walker has, which Walker's trending in the wrong direction right now. But Edgar Renteria, Tim McCarver, Ruben Tejada, Carl Crawford, Roberto Clemente, Pee Wee Reese, Brooks Robinson, like these are like Hall of Fame or All-Star guys that have had as big of struggles as Walker. Again, I'm not saying I don't think Walker's going to be that kind of guy, but it's possible for him to figure this out at some point. So I'm not giving up on him. I just don't think it's essential just because they said all year long 600 plate appearances. I think it would be bogus if they took him out and he's 80, like a 20% below league average hitter, because it's like, it doesn't kill you that much to have him in the lineup. This right now, though, that's killer. Even for a good lineup, he's an automatic out. I want to compare his slash line to an average starting pitcher batting, because I bet it's pretty similar, if not worse.
I don't think no, pitchers are really bad at hitting, but
I don't think it's much of an upgrade.
Yeah.
So again, I think you're right. The fact that the lineup's better this year, stuff like that helps put him in the lineup. Again, I'm not advocating for Jordan Walker to be sent down, especially not right now. I'd give it at least another month. And I'm only talking about if it's a month from now and he's still, I'm going to say it again, he's 50% below average right now. He's probably a bottom 5 hitter in all of baseball right now. I don't think that's crazy to think. I'll see if the numbers compare to that. So I'll try to find that and have that at some point here before we get through one. I do think your point about Nolan Gorman is is really valid, and something that I'm equally frustrated by from how the year's gone on, is that you never really gave him a chance. You kind of put him on the bench right away, and he hasn't looked good so far. But I mean, I don't really know what he's supposed to do when he's not getting any playing time right now. But yeah, Jordan Walker is, out of 166 qualified hitters this year, he's 159th in WRC plus. And it's probably even worse after today. So not good. Not good.
Yeah. I don't know what you do with him. It's frustrating, but I mean, Victor Scott was this bad last year. And look at him. So he
he can figure it out. I just don't think it has to be at the major league level, but we'll see. I'm curious in your perspective though, because you brought up something that I still agree with, but I'm at least open to the idea that it's not as shouldn't say it's not a need, but it's not as glaring of a hole is the whole idea that like that they don't have a middle of the order bat. So I think Wilson Contreras is one. Now I see Kyle Tucker, no, but he's not. I mean, the last year's output, I think he was a top 25 hitter in all baseball. So again, he's a lower end middle of the order bat, but he's a middle of the order bat.
Think of all of the contending teams around baseball, right? In the National League specifically, like the Dodgers obviously have their three guys. The Phillies have Harper and Schwarber, and the Mets have Juan Soto and Lindor and Pete Alonso, and the Cubs have Tucker.
Yeah,
and is there really a team that's contention right now in the National League? Because the American League is bad, right? Like I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there, but that doesn't have a player of that caliber other than the Cardinals right now. And I'm not saying that the Cardinals are
I'm out. So I think if Contreras over the course of a season puts up the kind of offensive numbers that he did last year, I think we can wrap our heads around more that he is like that. He's not. I mean, I put him up against Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso has the highest OPS in baseball, doesn't he?
I'm saying like this year he's been awesome, but I'm saying like as in like going into the year, I would have put him up at the same caliber type of player. I think your point is, I think they for sure are missing the third guy. You'd rather have Contreras.
You need another guy.
Yeah, you need a third guy. But I'm saying like I think they might have a second guy, and that might in Ivan Herrera. And so I'm not today telling you that's the case. I'm just saying I want to keep my eyes on that because by August or July, I could be like, man, they got two middle of the order bats, and their names are Ivan Herrera and Wilson Contreras. And Brendan Donovan is not a middle of the order bat, but he's playing right now. He's hitting like a guy that could be your third best hitter on a team. I don't think you should bank on that high level of production from him all the time, but he could be the fourth, fifth, or sixth guy. You've got it's what we talked about last time. The thing that gives me most excitement about this lineup long term, or maybe I talked about with Kareem. I don't remember who it was, but like the part of the team you need this year, the only unit you could look at as a whole, and like that unit could be the thing that helps us moving forward. It wasn't the pitching staff because it's mostly veterans, and the bullpen that changes every year. It was the lineup. And right now, you named it earlier, Victor Scott, Mason Wynn, those guys are great ancillary pieces to have, right? They can't be your middle of the order bats, but they could be your leadoff guy, number two hitter, and they certainly could be an awesome bottom of the order hitter. Nootbaar, Donovan, Contreras, and Herrera, you can confidently put all those guys somewhere 2 through 6, and you feel good about it. Now, to your point, I'd feel so much better about it if they had a Bryce Harper or a Kyle Tucker or something like that. And so I'd still say it's a need long term. But man, they've got all the other pieces in place. And so that's really the thing. Like, even for the starting pitching so far, it's like, that's cool. They've been pretty good lately, but like, long term, we'll see. Because most of these guys
are like a bat or a starter and a starter away from like being a top team in the National League.
Except the problem, and I talked about this with Daniel on Mimi at the Mutual this weekend. Like, they just don't have. I don't think like a team like the Dodgers can withstand 10 injuries and they can still be a contender. Part of that's being a middle market team is that you're just gonna not have. You're either gonna have the high end talent but not the depth, or you have the depth but you lack the high end talent. And the only way, and maybe there's 1 or 2 years we have both, but like it's hard to maintain.
Well, also part of the Dodgers' whole thing is that they just signed these injury-prone guys, and they know they're injury-prone before they sign them.
True, but I mean, okay, look at the Phillies, right? Like if they miss Kyle Schwarber for a month, they're going to be okay. But like if the Cardinals miss, I mean, I guess they just missed Ivan Herrera a month, and they were technically okay. So maybe that's different. Well, they weren't for part of that month, but like the Phillies rotation, if Aaron Nolan goes down today, they've got Zach Wheeler and they've got Jesus Luzardo and they've got Christopher Sanchez and other guys. The Dodgers have plenty of guys. The Cardinals just don't. Like I'm afraid. I don't like. I've tried to entertain the idea because I think what you're saying makes sense, that if they had another top end starter and a middle of the order bat, which are also, those don't grow on trees. It'd be a miracle to get both of those guys within a year. But if you did,
only they could have just had one guy.
Okay. But if they got those guys tomorrow, I still want to say they're a World Series. I mean, they have the potential to go that high, but I want to put them in the same classic contender because they are like 1 or 2 injuries away from falling out of that class when like the Phillies can withstand it, the Dodgers can withstand it, the almost said the Braves, but I still like them talent-wise. Padres, those type of teams, they're built to withstand a 162 game season and the postseason. Cardinals right now, like they've been really lucky health-wise so far. And so that's another thing too, where it's like their starting rotation's been healthy. They had Ivan Herrera go down for a month, but like other than that,
Well,
they've been
Mason
mostly
Wynn
fine.
had some injury problems.
Yeah, but it's like a week, and that happens that always happens to the team. But like they haven't had the major injury bug that other teams
Nolan
have.
Gorman had injury problems, but I guess that was like not terrible that he was out.
Yeah. But again, it was a week. Like that's gonna happen. But like if Nolan Arenado goes down for 2 months tomorrow, and then Sonny Gray goes down for 2 months, this is a totally different team. It just is. And those aren't even their best players. So that's part of where I struggle to say they're legit. They're a couple moves away from a legit contender, because it's like if they're healthy and vibing and they make a couple moves, sure. And a couple big moves, right? Not Jose Quintana, but like get your Blake Snell and get your Kyle Tucker, but which we know they're not doing. But anyways, also JJ Weatherholt looks stinking good right now, so maybe that's one of your bats next year.
Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, let's not rush another guy.
I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. You did bring up the DH conversation. We've texted about that, but we didn't really talk a ton about it. Bernie and Nicholas put out a video last week that swayed me more. And I think some people are listening will be surprised by it, because I have been Mr. when Ivan Herrera is ready to take over catching duty, send down Pedro Pajes and keep Bozo and bring up Luke and Baker. I'm actually cool with the 3 catcher thing for a while, and I wouldn't mind Ivan Herrera taking a lot of DH appearances because of just how stinking bad their DH spot has been this year. And Pedro Pajes has been excellent behind the plate. I need to give him credit. Like I've been hating on it, not believing it, saying that it's been overrated. I still think the bat's overrated. I still think he's a backup catcher. I don't think he should be a part of your future. But considering that the Cubs lead the league in stolen bases, the Reds are second, the Brewers are like 8th, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are 9th, you're going up against teams all the time that are running wild. And Pedro Pajes is one of the best in baseball at preventing that. So Luke and Baker served a nice role in the team, but it wasn't essential. I'm okay with. I think probably my biggest preference is that Ivan Herrera catches most games against a right-handed pitcher, so you can get Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman into the lineup. And then when a lefty's on the mound, I'm totally cool with him DHing and getting Pozo and Pajes into the lineup. How do you feel about that?
I just Ivan Herrera, like I understand where he ranks in all these leaderboards, but he's like a 5th of the same amount of plate appearances as the other guys there. So I'm not fully convinced that he's like Bryce Harper or Corey Seager or whatever the comps were. So I'm not like fully sold on that. And the DH spot in the National League is like such a luxury where you can give your guys off days. Like Lars Nootbaar is the one. Like we haven't talked about how Lars Nootbaar has stayed healthy all year, right? And he hasn't really taken DH days, but that could be helpful later on in the season as there's more wear and tear, just to get his bat in the lineup. And Arenado took a lot of DH days the last couple of seasons. That's a thing that I feel like he's seen less of. Wilson Contreras getting DH days is also valuable just to get him off his feet. But I don't know. I think for a National League team or for any team now, I guess since it's a thing throughout baseball, to commit the DH role to like one person, it has to be a really, really, really strong bat. And you see some of the guys around baseball like Ozuna, Shohei Ohtani, and Yordan Alvarez, who are the guys that do that. I have a hard time believing that Ivan Herrera is one of those guys, right?
I think you're right in terms of the sample size is not long enough to confidently say that. But at the same time, the sample size so far in his career, we're not just talking about the 15 games he's played this year, or 12 games. The career is that he is one of those bats. And so that's
like a Ozuna, a Yordan. I'm not even
a 140 WRC plus guy. That's elite production from a DH. And so I'm saying, like, I agree with you that if he can't maintain that production or get better, then he shouldn't be your DH. I totally agree with you, but I'm fine with them running that play for a little bit longer and seeing what happens. Again, I know I said in the chat the other day I was okay with him not being a catcher anymore. I'm not that all the way there yet. I prefer him being behind the plate. I'm fine with him. I want him to start against right-handed pitching or behind the plate, because then you get Alec Burleson or Nolan Gorman to line up. But my point is, rather than having Luke and Baker on the roster right now, I think having Pozo and Pages on there, so one of those guys can start against a lefty, and then you get Herrera an off day from catching, so he DHs, and it makes it so that he can keep playing, doesn't have to have a full off day very often. Again, if that bat falls off, that's one thing. But something I think you make a good point, and it's how I thought about it for a while, but now I'm more open-minded to it, is that I've been like, oh, you want the DH spot to be able to move guys around, get guys in there, get them at bats. But since over the last 3 seasons, since the DH, since 2022, so most of the core is gone, but 2023, 2024, 2025. Well, first of all, Ivan Herrera has a 162 WRC plus means you're DH. So that's
how many games has he DH'd though?
I will check that, but it was a decent. It was not like 10. It was not like 5 games. It was more than that. But here's my bigger point. That's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is Brendan Donovan's DH is 8% above league average. Wilson Contreras is 4% below league average, and he's DH like 30 or 40 games. Paul Goldschmidt was 4% below league average. Lars Nootbaar is 27% below league average. Nolan Arenado is 30% below league average, and he's played like 30 or 40 games, or actually 20 or 30 games at DH. Like the guys that they try to get DH appearances for to get them off their feet don't produce. And so I agree with you in theory that it's nice to be able to rotate those guys, but for what they've shown us so far is that they just benefit from an off day and then play them more often in the field rather than DH them, because some guys legitimately don't hit as well when they don't get to be in the field because they're not as engaged. So I agree in principle, you'd rather have that DH spot build and move guys around, but if guys aren't producing there and someone is, then why not?
Yeah, I mean, DHing is hard because, you see what happened to Devers.
Yeah,
that whole situation. That's funny. Anyway,
future Cardinal,
maybe
Chaim Bloom.
Yeah, Chaim Bloom.
The middle of the order of bat they need.
Yeah, I would take that. I would not mind that. I'm sure Chaim Bloom would play him at third if he could move Arenado off. But I don't like those one-dimensional kind of players. But whatever.
Hey, he can play third base in St. Louis.
Maybe
swap Nolan.
But there's only certain. I don't know the DH spot. The Cardinals used the DH spot really well in 2022 because Albert Pujols literally was Albert Pujols, and whatever that you can afford to not give guys DH days when your DH is prime Albert Pujols. I don't care about that, but after that season, it was like Burleson last year, and it was fine for a little bit, and it started to not be fine, and they just haven't used that spot well. And I think just having the catcher that does that, that hits that well, is such a luxury where you don't want him to DH every day when you can have that kind of production from a spot in the lineup that most teams don't. And I understand that he's not going to play every day, but he can also DH on the days that he's not, right? And I don't know, maybe that's a bad idea, just letting him DH. Maybe he turns a corner and becomes a really, really strong hitter that way. But I just don't see that, right? And he's a complete hitter, but I don't see the power potential. All of these guys that I mentioned, like Schwarber, Jordan, Ozuna, Ohtani, they all are 40 homer guys, right? And I don't think Herrera has that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a different kind because he gets the doubles and the walks and the average. Because last
those
year,
guys also get the doubles and the walks.
Well, it's fair, but also last year, if you're looking at DH production, if Ivan Herrera is a 140 guy, which again, that's an assumption. I'm not trying to. I'm telling you, we have to find out more.
What? Did he even play 100 games last year? I don't know.
No, but some of that's injury, but also a lot of it was they sent him down AAA because of the arm.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I know. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm yes, we also have to see more. So this conversation in 2 months, we'd be like, okay, Ivan Herrera is more of a 20% above league average guy.
Yeah.
But if he is that guy, a 40 a WRC plus guy is the 6th best primary DH in all baseball. The only guys he would have been behind.
I don't want him to lose time where he could be growing defensively just to find out, actually he wasn't all that.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm just saying if the Cardinals are convinced that his arm will never get better, that's where I'm saying this makes more sense. I'm not, but again, I just said I would rather I want him DHing against, or I only want him DHing against left-handed pitching. I want him as the primary catcher against right-handed pitching, and part of that the DH gets left-handed pitching is that he can play more because catchers just don't play 160 games anymore. Well, they never really did. Yadi was an anomaly playing 150 plus, but catchers barely even I think the 10th most games played by a catcher last year was 110. The 10th most. And so most of those guys don't catch that many games behind the plate anymore. So if he catches primarily against right-handed pitching and then DHs against left-handed pitching to save his legs those days, you get him in the lineup more often than you would if he was just a catcher. And so my point to that though is if you're getting 30% of your plate appearances from him from the DH spot, you go from having this elite hitting catcher to an elite hitting actually not even just elite. He'd be the best hitting catcher in all baseball if he continues what he's doing. That's no joke. He's better than every other catcher in baseball. It's better than William Contreras, who's second best by like 12 points if he maintains what he's doing. But if he moves to the DH for different stretches, he'd be a top 10 DH in all of baseball, no questions asked, if he continues the production. That was last year. I think
DHs are there though in baseball. Like so, how many like DHs like play like more than 80% of their games?
So here's the thing. I'm saying he would be sixth best, and they included Aaron Judge as a DH on this list, which he only played like 20 games. So actually he would be fifth best. They also included I guess to say actually all these other guys are primary because the guys who would be behind last year would be Judge, Ohtani, Alvarez, Brent Rooker, Marcell Ozuna. Pretty good list to put him in the company of.
But again, like I understand that like that's there, and I just want him to get the I don't know. Maybe I want him to catch just to get better. That's what this season is about, is getting better. And he's not going to become a better catcher if they don't play him a catcher.
I get you.
They can't give up on that.
I get you. I agree. I'm backing off my texting conversation with you guys about let's move him off now. But I do think I'm totally okay moving him off for now. Off against left-handed pitching to save his legs and have him DH. Also,
I don't want him to get hurt. Like if that keeps him healthy, then whatever.
And also keeps him fresh because like even just health aside, like if you want him to produce at a high level, he can't be tired. Hey, one other thing though, that was 2024. He would have been the fifth best DH. 2023, he would have been the third best DH, only behind Ohtani and Harper.
Well, how many? That was when National League teams were still figuring out the DH and like.
Well, okay, but again, it includes
better than Yordan Alvarez.
I guess he wasn't a primary DH that year.
Okay, well,
because he's not on the list. But I'm just telling you, like, guys who were primary DHs those years, like, were the guys you're saying, like, oh, he's not Yordan Alvarez, but he's in the class of them offensively so far. Well, okay, don't take something out of context. The numbers we've seen so far are in the class. I'm not saying he is that hitter yet, but again, what if he does it 200 the rest of the season?
Yeah. I mean, then that's great. I find it hard to believe that he would keep that up the whole time, right?
But why?
I mean, is Kyle Leahy the best reliever in baseball?
Okay, but until this year, we didn't have those numbers from him. All we've seen from Ivan Herrera in his career, which is small, but it's over multiple years, is that he's that good offensively. Now, again, you have to see more to guarantee it. My point again, to circle back, is I'm okay with increased DH appearances and moving in that direction if the arm isn't good enough, if the bat maintains. There's a lot of ifs in there. But the only thing, this isn't Nolan Gorman or Jordan Walker. It's like, well, if Jordan Walker figured things out, he could be the primary DH because he could be an awesome hitter. Well, it's like, you haven't seen that before. I mean, you've seen it for a small snippet in 2023. Ivan Herrera, it's like, well, actually, all we've seen so far is this dude rakes. And so if he can just continue to do what he's doing or get better, this dude's awesome. Even if he falls off a little bit, he's insane. So, hey, I think that's the reason why I like this conversation between us. So you bring up good points about it. And I'm not like you guys have changed my mind back a little bit where I was fully a Bernie about like, oh, go ahead, just do the DH thing. Now I'm like, nah, you need him at catcher more often to see what happens. But I'm cool with DH too. To me that Ivan Herrera, if he's a catcher long term, might be one of the biggest storylines of this team going forward. This is a social media clip right here. One of the biggest things they need to figure out this year is Ivan Herrera a catcher or not? Because if he's a catcher and this good, we're talking about one of the best players in baseball. If he's this good offensively and a catcher, and but he also has to improve the defense. But if he's not, you're talking about one of the best hitters in all of baseball as a DH if he continues what he's doing. Soapbox in.
There you go. TikTok.
But hey, if you're just jumping in now, we definitely have not said the Cardinals are actually back yet. We're just
that's the title of the stream. But
I know. But I just some comments in here like slow down. Like they took care of business. They won 8 in a row. A lot of things look good right now. Will continue. we'll see. I don't know.
Hey, I've done this for what? This is our 3rd year doing this. This is the best they've ever been on May 11th.
Yeah, by far.
By a lot. Probably by like 6 or 7 games.
So 2 games ago, wait, no, sorry, just last night. Or was it 2 games ago? And wait, yeah, they're game 41 now. Yep, sorry, 2 games ago. Through 39 games, they're now through 41. They're 3 games above 500. But through 41 or 39 games in 2023, they were 14-25. In 2024, they're 15-24. So 9 or 11 games below 500, and then 9 games below 500. Wait, yeah. Now they're 20. They were 20-19 this year at that point, and now they're 3 games above 500. Like this is different, and this is even though like in theory, like if you just talk about the length of our podcast, this is the most back they've been since I've been podcasting with you guys. Since this has been a podcast.
Held a playoff spot last year. They've held playoff spot last year.
Yeah, but it was coming off earlier in the year. They were in the depths, and so like so like everyone can always point back to, well, they started off this terrible, and it was like, well, yeah, we got to see what the real Cardinals are. So far, the sample size we have is that they're above 500 team this early in the year, and so again, there's totally room for them to fall off and not be this good. I'm not telling you they are. I'm just saying it's not wrong to feel better about this team than you have in a long time, especially because this is youth led, right? Like we're not talking about, well, can Goldie figure it out? Can Goldie bounce back? Can Michaelis keep it up? It's like, when are we going to get McGreevy here? Can Vic keep going? Can Wynn keep going? Can Donnie keep going? Can Herrera keep going? Like, it's fun. So I don't know if they're good, but they're fun. Any other topics before we close out today?
Well, I'm sad Sandy isn't here to just glaze.
Yeah, people probably think I'm glazing too much right now. If Sandy was here,
if Sandy was here, this would have gone off the rails like 20 minutes ago.
He would have been like, guys, the American League is weak this year, so if they could just get through the National League, they win the World Series. You know what happened.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. Hey, in theory though, I was thinking about the other day because someone's like, the pieces. You don't really have the bullpen. You kind of have some of the pieces. Helsley, Maton. Like if you somehow got into the playoffs right now, you have Gray and Libby, who I feel pretty good about a playoff rotation. You just don't have that third guy. And then in a 5 or 7 game series, you don't have a fourth guy, so that's tough. But the lineup I feel good about. It's not. I wouldn't take it over. Like there's multiple lineups in the playoffs that probably take over it, but I wouldn't say it's like it's a good unit.
I mean, with the Dodgers right now, how they're currently constructed, they have so many injuries that they're not good. Michael Conforto is actually worse than Jordan Walker this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, good question. If someone calls about Nato tomorrow, and it's a good anyone, if anyone calls about Nato tomorrow, it's a good deal. Like it's the best you could have gotten since the time you start shopping him. Do you take it?
Sure, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit caught in the middle right now because like who plays third base? Nolan Gorman, I guess.
Yeah, you guys said JC.
So JC.
I think I take it because also we were just talking with Kareem in the chat.
Unless it's like the Cubs. If it's the Cubs, I'm like, nah.
Fair. But we're just like talking with Kareem before about like, are they going to extend Donnie or Newt? It makes it a lot easier to hand out some of these early extensions if they can free up some of that money. And I'd much rather prioritize that than having Nato around. I know different times in the offseason, I was like, get rid of Nato. If Nato wants to be here, I don't think it's essential. But I also don't think it's the worst idea in the world to get rid of him right now. So, I don't know.
He's at like a 780 OPS right now. I don't know. The Dodgers need to figure out third base. The Yankees need to figure out third base. The Cubs also need to figure out third base, but they're on their own.
There's no way he goes to the Cubs. They would not do it. The Cubs would.
Yeah, I don't see Arenado doing well at Yankee Stadium. But hey, Goldie, I guess, is there.
True. They can reunite. But also, like with the way Nato's hitting right now, like he is trying to go gap to gap more. He's pulling the ball, but I mean, if he's just blooping those balls out there, it doesn't really matter what ballpark you play in. So, but yeah, he can't take advantage of the short porch because has he hit like 0 or like 1 or 2 home runs in his career to the opposite field?
I think he's hit them before. It's just like
very rare.
It's just that one segment where he didn't have a backside homer in 2022 during New lose during that thing. That's what you're thinking of when Andrew Kisner hit a backside home run.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Again, I mean, everyone, and we're going to do this every podcast. We'll probably talk about the deadline, but like in reality, we got to wait months because they're not going to make it. They're not going to choose a direction today. They just aren't, right? Even if they're 5 games above 500, they wouldn't be like, we're buying at the deadline. They'd be like, we'll figure it out when we get there. That's still what they're going to do, right? Again, would it shock you the Cardinals lose 6 games in a row after this?
No.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. It's fun to watch, but I'll temper expectations a little bit here still. I think I'm ready to bump up my prediction from 80 and 82 to 81 and 81 though.
Okay. Just by 1 game.
I think they've earned it. They get a 1 game bump. But I mean, even before the season, I think we all agreed, like varying levels. Like, I think we could have seen them losing or winning only like 74 games, and we could have seen them winning 84, 85 if everything broke right. So it feels on brand. But it's like, yeah, when things are going well, this team could be a mid-80s win team, and when things aren't going well, they look 10 games below 500. So.
Also, no matter what the viewer demand is for next year, we could have a flood of comments coming in to do a war draft. You and Sandy can have fun with Kareem or whatever. I'm never doing that again.
Retiring Andrew from it. Who's in the lead now? Do you know?
I don't know, but I have Gorman, Walker, and Burleson, which is great. I also have Donovan and Wynn, which is fine, but like they've been good. But
who did you have last year? Because last year's was bad too, right?
I had Goldie, Walker, Gorman, Edmund, and Michaelis.
Rough. Oh,
I had Tommy Edmund in there, and he just never played. So, whoops.
Oof.
I thought he was coming back. I didn't think they would just trade him for nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Trade him for a complete game shutout.
Hey, I do think it's one last thing before we head out. Like, Joseph, I want a GM to explain why it's hard to trade earlier than July 31st. I mean, I feel like they comment on this a decent amount, but it's like think about the MLB offseason, how stagnant it is and how slow moving it is. It's because there is no deadline. There's nothing that puts pressure on people to get it done until a player is ready to sign, right? So that's part of what the deadline does, is it puts pressure on people to make a decision and to go one way or the other. But I mean, teams do make deals earlier. So like the Cardinals couldn't entertain that. And in past years, the Cardinals have been like, well, no one's calling. It's like, well, the Brewers make deals, have made a few small deals, and the Willie Adames one in midseason. But most deals at this time of year are really small deals. But when you get to the deadline and people pick what direction they're going in, they're more willing to give up prized assets to go get something, because on July 31st, I'm in it, I'm probably making the playoffs. If I'm in it on May 4th, it doesn't mean a lot. You could easily fall apart. So it's like, why am I cashing in these chips today? And then for the Cardinals, it's like, if I have one team calling me about Ryan Helsley right now, I move him if I get great value, but otherwise I'm like dangling him and want 8 people going after him, a bidding war. So I see it, but I also think the Cardinals in the past have missed on opportunities to incrementally improve or to figure out some spots. Instead, they go sign Wade LeBlanc or they call up Johan Oviedo. So love that. Anyways, thanks for everyone for tuning in on a Mother's Day. That's fun. Last one. Do you think they trade Helsley if they're in first place? Do you think they do? And
do I think they can even get anything for Helsley at this point?
Okay, let's assume that he's maybe not as good as he was last year, but he's still a good closer at the deadline. Do you trade him?
Why not? He's like,
I trade him.
Is he even a QO guy at this point?
Go Moms. No, not right now.
Yeah, so then you're gonna get nothing for him. So I would do something,
for sure. And plus, like I talked about this with Daniel, like you could trade Helsley and then go trade for a veteran reliever who's not nearly as good as Helsley, but to backfill which you lost a little bit, right? Or it's like maybe Maton or Graceffo or JoJo or someone like that moves into the closer role, but then you replace that guy's innings with random reliever who's doing pretty well for the Rockies. Well, doesn't exist. Random reliever that's doing well for the Marlins to add to your bullpen. I'd be fine with something like that, but they definitely shouldn't aggressively buy, and they shouldn't hold on to Helsley. That's for sure.
True.
So anyways, fun episode. Anything on the way out?
We'll see what happens this week, I guess.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. You guys will have to hold down the fort for a couple of weeks, but
True. When is your last epi?
probably Wednesday. I might join you guys from
Okay.
across the sea.
Yeah. Andrew's taking a big vacay here soon. So
True.
hey, big series though against the Phillies. You got Liberatore against Sanchez on Monday. That's a huge game. And then you've got Gray against Jesus Luzardo, game 2. That's another big game. And then Fedde versus Nola, game 3 of the series. I'm not gonna make a prediction because I don't want to curse them.
Okay,
so.
good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Glad we're on the same page. Oh yeah, last thing. Shout out John Gruden. Crazy.
I don't even know who that is. I'm gonna be
I was
honest.
about to say, do you even know him? He's a little controversial. He got fired for some not great stuff, but he's trying to make a comeback. So, but yeah, he is the spirit animal of the Cardinals right now. So, anyways, hey, appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Go check out 314 Sports Yards and Collectibles. Make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy if you want to play fantasy games. Like and subscribe, helps channel a ton. Comment down in the video below. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know questions you have. Maybe we'll address them on a Q&A episode. We'll be back on Wednesday. But as always, we appreciate the support and see you next time.
Thanks, Eric.